Hey scientists, how you going? Just want to work you through the homework, which is pedigree charts, and just help you with OneNote a little bit. So this is the task that I want you to try for homework based on what I talked through with these pedigree charts in lesson, and I understand that was only quite rushed. We only talked through it for about 20 minutes or so. This will help you obviously to get started with that. So the first thing is for the content library. So you're in your notebook. And you're in biology and you're going down here to pedigree charts, you won't be able to write anything. You're going to have to put that on your student notebook. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is copy all of this, and you're going to have to go into your notebook. So I'm going to click Anthony just as the first person, and you're just going to have to add a new page and just call it pedigree charts. It automatically logs the date and stuff like that, and you chuck it in there, so you're essentially good to go. Okay, so now you can put that in class notes. Actually, it might be better to put it in homework. That might make more sense in the homework tab. So chuck in pedigree charts in there, and then that's tracked under your homework. Okay, so what we'll do now is, and I'll just kind of adjust this up a little bit, we'll go into the draw feature. So just in OneNote, just to make sure we can actually write in here. Okay, so let's figure out what we're actually doing. So this pedigree chart tracks the wet earwax trait in a family. How beautiful is that? Which is dominant. Determine the genotype of each individual if possible. Now, if we're talking about earwax, if you're talking about letters to specified genetic traits, usually the letter corresponds to the dominant trait. So wet earwax, I guess that could be maybe big W. So that is the dominant one. Okay, so big W would be the wet earwax. And the little w, which is the recessive allele, what would be the opposite? Dry earwax? Or maybe just non-wet earwax? What a strange example to start with, but that's okay. So that's what we're going with here. And we're determining the genotype of each individual as possible. So essentially, remember, the circles are female and the squares are male. Not that that matters too much for what we're doing here, but it's good to just kind of be aware of that. And we've got the generations. So the top line here is the first generation, then the second generation, and the third generation. So what we're trying to do is determine the genotypes of each individual. So the wet earwax is a dominant trait. Therefore, all of the individuals that do not have wet earwax, there's only one combination of alleles they can have, and that is little w, little w. Because if any of these people had wet earwax, they're either going to be homozygous dominant, so big W, or homozygous, or heterozygous, which is big W, little w. So we know that all of these guys are little w, little w. Okay, and you can see it's a bit of a pain to write that in. You can just kind of write it once and copy paste it if you like, but I'm just happy to write it in for now. Okay, so now where can we go from here? So this person here, I know that they are homozygous. Oops, I don't know that. So this person here can be either homozygous dominant or heterozygous. We don't actually know. Actually, we do know. We do know. They have to be heterozygous. The reason why I know that is if they were homozygous dominant, so two big W's, then the only combination, so let's just take these ones here, and let's go over here, and we'll do a bit of a Punnett square. It's a horrible Punnett square, but that's okay. So if we had big, big, little, little, the only, what have I done there? The only combinations you could have would be big, little, big, little, big, little, big, little. So that would be 100% big W, little w genotype, which is 100% with the wet earwax. And wet earwax would be shaded in, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, if this person here was big W, then all of the kids would have to be shaded in black. They would all have the wet earwax. But because 2 of them don't, that means that this person has to be heterozygous. So there's a 50% chance that they pass down their big W here, and a 50% chance of the little w, which is what ends up here. Okay, so that's how I know their genotype. So having said that, these two, I also know that they are big W, little w. Okay, because mum is homozygous recessive, little little. So she had to have passed down one of the littles here. So therefore, that's their genotype. Same thing with this person here. Now this person here is connected to these parents, and this parent here, little little, which means that one little w allele must have been passed down here. So again, big W, little w. Okay, so there was no homozygous dominant people here. Okay, so that's that one. Let's look at the next one. This pedigree chart tracks the blue-eyed trait, which is recessive. Determine the genotype of each individual if possible. So it doesn't say what dominant is, but that's okay. So we can say little b is going to be blue, and big B is going to be non-blue. Just because it doesn't specify what the other eye color is, but essentially this is tracking blue, which is considered recessive. Okay, so in this instance, the shaded squares or circles have blue eyes, and that is recessive. That's different to this one here, because this one here, the shaded trait was the dominant trait, but down here, the shaded trait is the recessive trait. So now I know that all of these individuals that are shaded are little b, little b. They have the recessive characteristic there. Okay? So everything else has to be either big B, little b, or big B, big B. Okay? So one or the other. So how can we figure that out? So let's go up here and let's go to these original sets of parents. Now these parents, generation 1, 1 and 2, they had they had one kid here, 2 kids here. So all of the lines that are connected, that's their kids. Alright? Now if they gave rise to a little b, that means they have to be heterozygous. Okay? Because that little b was passed down from dad, that little b was passed down from mum to get that kid there. So they have to be heterozygous. Okay? Now what does that tell us about all of their kids, their offspring? So this number 5 here ends up with this person, generation 2, number 6, and they have kids, one of which has blue eyes, little b, little b. So that means that both of these sets of parents also have to be heterozygous. Okay? Now this kid here, generation 3, number 6, if both sets of parents are heterozygous, this one could be big B, or big B, little b. We can't tell. We don't know. Because if we do a Punnett square for heterozygous, you can have big B, or big B, little b, big B, little b, little b, little b. So there's a 25% chance of big B, and a 25 plus 25 is a 50% chance of big B, little b. So what I'm saying is you can't say which one it is, you don't know. And that's a valid answer, okay? You don't know all of them. So same thing here. I look generation 4, number 1, big little b. So their parents had to be hetero. So this one here, you don't know. Okay. Now if they're heterozygous, this one here, we don't know this one. So there might be some other instances where you're not sure what the genotype is. Okay. But we might, essentially, you either know or you're unsure. And in that case, you would put that. So for all of these remaining ones, we can either put this if we're not sure, but if we can specify, like these sets of parents here, then we put that there. Okay. Hopefully that helped out a little bit and wasn't too confusing. Now that I look at all these notes, it does look super confusing. But essentially what we're doing is if we can specify the genotype, we put it down. Otherwise, we leave it. All right, guys, thanks for that. Good luck with your homework.